Now in problem 6, it asks us to subtract negative 8 from negative 12. Now, whenever you see this word from, right, let me just write this. Here's what's happening. When you see this word from, that means whatever comes here, whatever comes after the word from, that's where you start, right? So you start here. Like if you're going to go to school from home, where do you start? You start from home, all right? So you always start with the word or the expression that comes after the word from. Now what I want to do is I want to subtract negative 8 from negative 12. So let's write this. I'm going to start here with the negative 12, and then I'm going to subtract negative 8. Okay? You see it? From negative 12, I'm going to subtract negative 8. All right, now this is a subtraction, so I'm going to change subtraction to addition of the opposite. Now change this to an addition, and the opposite of negative 8 is 8. So we're going to have negative 12 plus 8. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding two numbers with opposite signs, right? I have two numbers, opposite signs, one negative, one positive. So just do it in your head now. And you're going to add two numbers with opposite signs. Just forget the signs for a minute. Just subtract bigger minus smaller. So what is 12 minus 8? All right. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 12 minus 8. So really I'm taking the bigger absolute value minus the smaller absolute value, and I get a 4, right? That gives you a 4, right? But use the sign with the larger absolute value. So use the biggest sign here. Now that's coming from the negative 12. That's coming from the 12. So I'm going to write this as negative 4. Now here in 7, what we're going to do is we're going to find the difference. I'm thinking subtraction. As soon as I see difference, I'm thinking subtraction of 11 and negative 7. So I'll just go left to right, take the first number first. So I'm going to write this as 11 minus negative 7. Now here's how I'm going to see this. I'm going to see it this way. Negative negative is positive, so I'm going to see it as 11 plus 7, and that's going to give me an 18. Now I could see this on the number line. If I look at the number line, right, here's 11, there's a 0, here's 11, here's negative 7. What are we saying? That how many units are there between negative 7 and 11? Well, there's 7 here, right? And there's 11 here, so altogether there are 18 units. Now number 8, we are asked, what number are we going to subtract from 6 to get to 15? So I'm thinking this. 6 minus what number is going to give me 15? Well, one thing I know for sure, I can't put a positive number in here, right? This cannot be positive, because if I put a positive number in here, like suppose I put in a 10, 6 minus 10, that's going to be negative, so that's not going to work. If I put in a 2, that's not going to get me up to 15. So I'm thinking this number is going to have to be negative. Now, one way I might think of getting this is like this. Here is 0 on the number line. Let's go to 6. Now, what I'm trying to do is get 15 units out of here. I've got 6 units out of here. There's 6 units here. What number am I going to use down here to get me 15 units? All right, so I want this plus this to give me 15. So I do know this. 6 plus 9 is 15. So I'm thinking that's a 9, but where does that put me? That puts me down here at negative 9. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to write 6 minus negative 9. Okay, is that equal to 15? I'm going to use that question mark because I just want to prove it before I state it. Now, negative negative is positive. I get 6 plus 9 is 15. Is it? It is. All right, so 6 and 9 is 15. Or if you want to do one more step, 15 equals 15, and it checks. Now, eventually, we're going to see this as an equation. We're going to see this as 6 minus x, some unknown number, equals 15. And then what we're going to do is we are going to solve for x. Number 9 asks us to find this product. Now, I've got a multiplication here. What is a positive number times a negative number? Well, I do know this. A positive times a negative. As long as they have opposite signs, we're going to get a negative out of this. So I know that this number here is going to be negative. Now what is 6 times 2? It's 12. So I'm going to say that that's equal to negative 12. Let's find this product. Now what I've got here is a negative number times a negative number, and if the signs are the same, you always end up with a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I know I'm going to get a positive number out of this. And what is 6 times 8? That's 48. Now you can put a plus sign on if you want, but you don't need it. So negative 6 times negative 8 is positive 48. Number 11, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 4 into negative 4x. So I'm going to see it like this. I see a positive number here times the negative number here. So I'm going to get negative, positive times negative is negative, I'll get negative 16x. Now let's just go a little bit further and see why this works. If I start here, 4 times negative 4x, negative 4x, I can use the associative property. Right? So I'm going to associate. I'm going to take this set of parentheses and move it just over here and write it like this. 4 times, now this is awkward, negative 4 times x. But now I can see it. 4 times negative 4 is the negative 16, and I still have it multiplied by the x. Number 12, this multiplication, notice you've got 3 halves and 2/3. Those are reciprocals. And when you multiply reciprocals, you get 1. Now, a reciprocal of a fraction is just the number flipped over. If you don't see that, here's what you might see. Negative times negative is positive. So I know the result right away is going to be positive. Now, if you're thinking 3 times 2 over 2 times 3, that's 6 over 6, which is 1. And then you still have that x, so you're going to get 1x, or how about just x? Or if you like, what you could do is when you're at this point right here, what you could do is you could cancel. That 3 cancels with that 3, right? 3 will go into 3 once, and to 3 once. 2 will go into 2 once, 2 will go into 2 once. So you end up with 1 times 1, which is 1, over 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 over 1 is just 1. In 13, we're going to have to use the distributor property, right? What have I got here? I've got negative 2x, and then I'm going to subtract 3. Now, this is a multiplication. I know I can distribute multiplication through addition or subtraction. So the plan is to make this multiplication here, negative 3 times negative 2x, and then I'll bring it over here, negative 3 times this one, all right? So it's going to be, well, I'll write it every single step here. It's going to be plus, what? Negative 3 times negative 3, right? This negative 3 times that negative 3. So let's see what we have. Negative 3 times negative 2x is negative times negative is positive, is 6x, plus, and then what do we get over here? Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Now, let's see if we can get it to right. 9. All right, now, you don't really have to go through all that. Just take it right through. Negative 3 times negative 2x is 6x. So I'm just going to write 6x. And then negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. I can do that all in one step. Got a lot of multiplications going on here. Here's what I see in this one. You see that 0? Any number times 0. All right, so 0 times any number is 0. Right, so I don't have to work through this. I could. I mean, negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. So I know right here, just by looking at that, that's going to be a 0. Now let's look at this expression right here. This is really a subtraction, but I'm going to think of it as a negative number. Think of it as negative 2. Now what is negative 2 times 1? Negative 2. And what is negative 2 times negative 3? That's positive 6. So here's what we are so far. I get 0 from the first one, and then this one here, I get negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. And this last expression over here, Now it's plus, it's an addition, and all these numbers are positive, so just multiply through. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 3, 18. So I'm going to get a plus 18, and then if you just add left to right, 0 plus 6 is 6, plus 18, well, that's 24. Number 15, let's work inside these parentheses. So right here, 1 plus 2, that's a 3. So I'm going to have that 1, right, just carry it along. 1 times 3. Now, work inside this parentheses. I'm going to get negative 2 times what? Well, negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. That 0 doesn't change the value. And then finally over here, I'm going to get negative 3, or minus 3 times, all right, minus 3 minus 2. I'm sorry, negative 3 minus 2. Think of it this way. You're down 3, and then you lose 2 more. That's down 5. Now, let's make the multiplications left to right. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then negative 3 times negative 5 is 15. And then just adding left to right, 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 15, and that is a 22.